I got a hot rod love, and you keep the motor revving. I got a hot rod lover, and she keeps my wheels spinning. I got a hot rod love, and she knows how to keep my rockabilly gears a-turning. I got a hot rod love.
We're at Old Mill Rod and Custom with the owner of the shop, Simon Hartman. I met him before I started SA Hot Rod magazine. And Simon kind of changed the way I looked at rodding. When I got to Cape Town, there was street rods, big chrome, fancy paint, and he introduced me to something that was a little bit more basic, where it came down to not, I want to say, the look of the car, but enjoying it. That trailer queens are for trailer queens. Cars are made to be driven. Now, you started Old Mill, about 4 or 5 years ago, and you initially started as a rod builder or building rods. Are you sustaining what you wanted to do in the industry, or has you just changed with the market as the market's gone?
Yeah, it's been difficult because there aren't enough guys that are wanting to build the rods. The problem with the build is if you're going to do a build, it takes a long time to do it. The period of the time that it takes you to put the car together, the man hours, you can't necessarily charge for it, because then you push yourself out of the market and you end up having a 500,000 rand rod, and it just doesn't work. But going back to the question, yeah, where I started and where I am now is very different. I do very few builds. I think I've got 3 builds left, and I'll probably not build again for clients. I'll build for myself. A majority of what we do at Old Mill is servicing, upgrades, motor rebuilds, that type of thing. That's what the current market dictates, and that's what we do. I'd love to be building hot rods all day, every day, but it's not sustainable, not yet.
You said to us previously that you've been building cars, or you've only built 2 cars. What's the difference between assembling and building?
It's actually a joke, because guys say, yeah, I built this car. You didn't build a car. When you build a car, you build the chassis, you do 80% reconstruction of the bodywork, you you make up your own suspension, or you take suspension from a different car, from a different era, and then you stick it together. You've built a car. You don't build a car when you pull the wheels off and you strip it and you put some paint on and a fancy set of wheels. That's not a build. You pull the motor out and you rebuild it. That's not a build. You build a car. There's very few guys that actually build a car, and that's what the Oaks don't understand. If you're going to build something, build it. Draw up a plan, get some hardboard on the floor and chalk out a design for your suspension. Go onto the internet and work out what the Ackerman angle is. Work some stuff out and do it for yourself. If you're not a good enough welder, get hold of somebody who can come in. You tack your stuff in place, get out to come and weld it up. Then you can go out there and say, I built this car. You built shit if you put wheels on it. It's like anything, you can procrastinate, you can drag a thing out. If you're not going to just jump in and do it, you'll be talking about it next year, and there's too many bench builders out there. There's too many Oaks that go, yeah, this, that. Shut up, get off the internet and get off your forums and get into your workshop or get into your garage and start doing it and finished.
Like we said, proof is in the pudding. If I look at the guys that's going in and that's busy with cars at the moment, look, I'm not a huge fan of Beetles at all.
Yeah, but Joe, listen, the Beetles, if you look at, and we had the conversation the other day, if you look at what traditional rodding was, they went and found something that was readily available, that was cheap. So if you want to be a stickler, the guys building the Volks rods are more rodding than what we are. And if the guys are building the Honda Civics and the Mark 1s, the Mark 1 Golfs, they're the new rodders. It's not my style and it's not what I like. But if you're going to be technical, they're the new rodders.
Look, they're pushing the envelope a little bit more. Yeah. I mean, the Beetles and stuff that's coming out at the moment, the style that they're using, I mean, they also bring the old school and I want to say the rattiness and stuff into it. It's not just the high-end stuff like we saw like back in the 90s and stuff when the guys were busy building high-end.
But that's also, we don't fully appreciate what the Volks rods or the Beetle guys are doing and what it actually encompasses. It's a big part of the European market, but we don't really get to see it. And there's a couple of Beetles running around here, and they actually put their time in and they've put something really cool together, but it doesn't get the recognition as a Camaro does or a Mustang does, and that's the sad part, because those oaks are putting more into it.
Because it's a Beetle.
Yeah.
And look, it also probably comes down to the fact that the guy puts an enormous amount of hours and everything into the car, and at the end of the day, he's not going to get anything back. But in our industry, I mean, we've said it with a few guys, you don't always get everything back.
No, you never do. You can wish. You're not going to get your money back. It's a bottomless pit. You never finish the project. You'll always be adding to it and changing stuff. But yeah, listen, you're not building it to resell it, or you're not assembling it like we said earlier on. You're not putting a project together to resell it. If you are, then you're wasting your time. You should go find something else to do. If you're doing it because you get a kick out of it or you want to drive it, then great. The money's not really a major thing. You can make a plan, you can put it together, and as you get money, so you improve it, so you enhance it. And some of the guys out there are doing it. There's in every type of car, the Beetle guys, the Golf guys, the muscle car guys, that term, rat rod guys. There's good and there's bad. There's some really cuck ugly cars that I've seen out there in all the facets of this industry. But there's some really cool stuff. There's some really cool Beetles. There's some really cool Golfs. I drove behind a Toyota the other night. Styling, I could put some time into it. Nice car. I wouldn't necessarily want to drive it, but I can appreciate what he's put into it. Whereas a guy rolls in here with the car that he's bought, that somebody else has put together, and he thinks he's got the best thing. I don't knock him, he's enjoying it, it blows his hair back, but the amount of time that he's put into it, or the part of his input into it, his ideas that he's put into it, is zero. Like, that's scraped together whatever he's had, and he's driving his Beetle to work and back every day. He's more rodding than Oku trailers his car around it.
That's the type of, I mean, that's the guys we grew up with. I mean, my dad and all those guys, they had Anglias and Mark 1s and that type of stuff. It was their daily drive, and that's the car that they were building. There wasn't the money back then to have two cars or...
But that goes back to the ethos of rodding. It's what you dig, and if you can't afford look, a lot of the guys won't admit to it. A lot of the guys want a Mustang, a lot of the guys want a Camaro, or they want a top-end rod, but they can't afford it. So what do? You go and find yourself an Angler, or you go and find yourself a Beetle, and you chop it up and you make it. It's an expression of your personality. It's your outlet for your artistic side. Let's put it that way. We get all zen on the crowd, but that's what it's about. And if you can't afford it, you make do, you make a plan, and that's what it's about.
Licensing and registrations and stuff that we're sitting with. Is this holding us back with the fact that we really fight so hard to get our cars registered and get them on the road?
No, you don't fight hard. Again, it's a misconception. And I was part of that school of thought that, you can't do this, you can't do that. Cuck. If you do the things right, you get it on the road, take it follow the procedures, get your RPI, get your RPC, get the guys to come and have a look at it to say your welding's good enough. Get the stuff done. It's long-winded. It's like any bureaucracy. It's anywhere you go with red tape. It's a process. You've got to follow the process. There's no shortcut.
You sit in conversations with rodders, and they talk about our taxi industry, how bad quality the cars are, and how the guys are driving things with spanners and that type of stuff. But you look at some of the cars that the guys have built, how bad the weldings was, how to put their suspensions and that type of stuff on. I've seen, I mean, we've gone through shows and seen some cars where you sit there and you go, what has this guy done? How's this thing actually even driving? Yet that makes it, because it's something he's done at home, makes it better. I understand where laws have to be in place in order to do safety when it comes to it. The fact that you've got guys taking a car from the 30s or 40s, sticking a huge V8 into it, upgrading everything but leaving the brakes, not touching brakes and that type of stuff, sticking it on a road, stick his kids into it, and then go on a long trip, it does kind of scare the crap out of you at the same time.
It's natural selection. It's natural selection. Those oaks are going to wipe themselves out. The bad side is they're going to maybe take you out with it. Yeah, I'm making light of it. I must say there's not as much of it these days as there used to be. You've seen less and less of it. And I get the trying it at home, but again, one of the problems in the industry, the oaks are very cagey, they don't help and they don't give advice. Advice is free. And if Oak rocks up here and he says he's having a problem with X, Y, or Z, I try to help him. If there's a guy that's sickling with his welding, I've got 2 or 3 guys that I can put onto him and he can come and help with the welding. There's no reason you should be putting something on the road that's unsafe. There's enough out there to help you to get it right. Yeah, the 40 Businessman's Coupe was quite a rare car. It was predominantly run and owned by traveling salesmen, so it's got a massive boot and it's really a 2-seater because the back seat doesn't really exist. I saw this car in Laingsburg probably 10 years ago. Tried to do a deal with the guy who owned it, wasn't interested. A couple of years later, it turned up here in Cape Town at a crowd that used to operate out of Woodstock. Tried to buy it off them 3 or 4 times. No, we're going to get it, we're going to finish it, we're going to get to it. Stood in the same place for 3 years. Every time I went past, the same story, as the majority of the guys in the industry do, because you don't really have time to build your own project. And then a mate of mine out in Langebaan managed to do a trade with him. He knew I'd been chasing the car and he phoned me up and said, "Just come and visit, I've got something standing in my yard." And I arrived there and it was the car that I'd been chasing. We did a deal, brought it back to Cape Town, stood in my workshop for probably 6 months to 8 months, didn't touch it. And then just prior to the Nationals, I thought, jump on it and get it done. Built it in record time and it hasn't been off the road since. It's just been one of those cars, get in, drive, can't kill it, don't want to, and just enjoy it.
This is the original motor, or is this the motor that you found for it?
No, the original motor was a side valve 6-cylinder that wasn't worth split. It was worn, it hardly ran. The 6-cylinder I had standing in the corner, it had been rebuilt, ready to go into a totally different project. My initial thought was, put an 8 in it. And the conversation, again, we keep on having these conversations with guys in the industry and customers, why 8? And then I thought, look, I'm building it for my daughter, let me put a 6 in. I've got a complete 6, it's cost me nothing, it's brand new, stick it in. And it was one of the better ideas.
Now, suspension, have you changed anything else on the car, or?
Yeah, I did the dreaded Jag suspension.
You probably just had one lying around.
I did, and there's a lot of merit in it. We knock it as guys building cars. It's a very South African thing. Yeah, stick a Jag in it, stick a Jag in it. We knock the Jag, but the Jag works. There's nothing wrong with it. It's available, it's easy to install, it takes the weight of the old cars, it handles superbly, it's got disc brakes, it's got power steering, it does everything you need it to do, and it's an inexpensive option.
Well, you went for closed fender anyway, which hides the bulkiness and the ugliness of the Jag suspension. I think that's the only thing. Guys are putting Jags into open fender cars and it just, it sits, it's hideous. So
yeah, it doesn't quite
closed
work.
fender, it makes more sense. Interior you've redone as well?
The interior has been reupholstered in red. Again, it's kind of a very traditional interior, red, tuck and roll. The rear suspension's redone. Everything underneath is brand new. Everything's been redone. The window rubbers are new. All the glass is new. The window mechanisms have been refurbed. Everything that you can't see has been redone. The paintwork and the bodywork I've purposely left alone because, to me, that gives the vehicle so much more character. And this particular car is all about character to me. I get the shiny paint and the fancy wheels, I get it. I'm not knocking it, but for this particular vehicle, this is what works.
Well, like we said, it's taken how many years to get to this look? Why actually screw with it now, you know?
Yeah, look, maybe at some stage I'll decide to do the bodywork and paint it, but for now, I'm enjoying it, I'm digging it.
Well, I ain't got no money, I ain't got no fancy car, ain't got
So far on the show, I haven't really wanted to give my opinion on the cars that we've been driving. I mean, we've been driving some very cool stuff. But Simon's 40 is a car that just completely stands out for me. It's not just because of the rough out exterior of the car. I mean, like Simon has said to us, it's what made it. It's how it drives. I mean, I've driven a lot of rods in my life, and I mean, I'm lucky like that. But this car it's different. It doesn't feel like something from the 40s. It's smooth and it's comfortable, and we always say, oh, this is road trip material, but there's not a lot of cars that give you that sense of we can go anywhere.
Well, I ain't got no knowledge in that music and theory, but I've got that soul that counts in good old rockabilly. Got the fire burning deep inside of me.
As much as Daniel, the camera guy, won't agree with me, because I mean, he's trying to keep the camera still, the suspension on this thing is actually extremely soft. I mean, it's straight, it's not bumpy. I mean, like, I've been in some cars where it shakes the enamel of your teeth, and yet Simon's built this thing, I don't know, I want to say it drives like a modern car, because it does give you that sense. It's like driving a Mark 1 Golf, or Mark 2 Golf, or something like that. I don't know what's about it. It's very hard to put your finger down on, but it's just right. It is absolutely amazing. The straight six in this car, makes sense with it. It's not the type of, I'm a rebel hot rodder screaming up the street, terrorizing kids and dogs and old ladies. It's just, I don't know, it makes you think of the 40s and the business coupe, and you just want to sit back and enjoy it, and maybe have a little bit of Bob Seger or someone singing in the background, and makes you want to think of reevaluate your life and where you're coming from and what you're doing, and try and understand why you would spend so much money paying off a BMW or something, And you can have this that is just, I don't know, just looks like it's meant to be.